Tonight on Q2, a step towards justice.
The defendant physically provokes Michael.
2 years after a road rage shooting resulted in a man dead outside the Q2 studios, the deliberate homicide trial begins. Plus, combating homelessness and addiction.
Our youth are our future and our elders are our history.
One man hopes to create change in Lodge Grass by building a center for youth and the elderly. And controversy at the Capitol.
We cannot control comments made by folks who attend all of our CLE programs or even folks who are panelists on or speakers at those events. We don't necessarily endorse those views.
On day 2 of the legislature, one side's already demanding an apology. We'll tell you why. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. A step towards justice. Today, the trial began in this road rage case that happened right outside our Q2 studios, a conflict that ultimately ended in murder. Now, more than 2 years later, 31-year-old Jacob Troxel is facing a deliberate homicide charge in the killing of Michael Duran. Our Charlie Kleps was in the courtroom as opening statements began.
More than 2 years ago, it was right here where Michael Duran was shot and killed by Jacob Troxel following a road rage incident that brought them here right between the Billings YMCA and our KTVQ news station. We caught the entire incident on our surveillance camera, and on Tuesday morning, that trial began with Troxel claiming self-defense.
Avoidable, preventable, senseless.
There wasn't a shortage of emotions inside the Yellowstone County Courthouse Tuesday morning.
This case is about the senseless murder of Michael Duran.
He was trying to get him to stop. Why wouldn't he stop?
Prosecutors and defense attorneys presented their opening statements to a jury regarding a road rage incident that turned fatal in August of 2022.
The murder of an unarmed 29-year-old man who should still be alive today.
Troxel is accused of shooting Michael Duran 7 times through a car window while the two exchanged punches, an act the prosecution told jurors was completely unnecessary.
The defendant provokes him by punching him, hitting him, chasing him, spitting on him.
But the defense argues 31-year-old Jacob Troxel didn't have a choice.
They began fighting. Duran won't stop. He's grabbing at Jacob's shirt. He's getting in his face.
The defense also told jurors Duran went back to violently attacking Troxel after the two had separated, with Troxel even returning to his own vehicle.
Between punches, possibly losing consciousness, and Sierra screaming, Jacob does the one thing he has to do, the only thing he can do. Grabs his gun from the back seat and fires.
The trial continued with the first set of witnesses, a detective involved in the response to the case and a doctor that handled the autopsy, and is expected to continue throughout the week.
This is a case about self-defense.
With much to still be decided.
Michael isn't here to tell you about what happened that day. He can't tell you why he tried to reason with the defendant.
In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
This trial, which is again expected to last a week, comes after a coroner's inquest. That inquest happened in October of 2023, 14 months after the shooting, with Troxel claiming self-defense. That claim was put in front of a citizen jury to see if they believe he could face charges. Yellowstone County Deputy Coroner Rich Hoffman presided over that hearing, and after 2 days, the jury decided that a charge of some kind would be warranted. The 31-year-old was ultimately arraigned on the deliberate homicide charge in November of 2023. Troxel has been allowed to remain free on his own recognizance during the time leading up to the trial. One Lodge Grass man is looking to combat violence, homelessness, and addiction by constructing the area's first youth and elderly center. The Tribal Council approved David Blaine's project, but now he must raise more than $90,000 to make it happen. Our Matt Carmack has more on his plan and the change it could possibly create.
What seems like a large open field behind me could really mean a $90,000 investment in the future of Lodge Grass and its community. In Bighorn County, you'll find Crow native David Blaine. He has many passions, from coaching youth sports to carpentry to social justice. But his biggest love of them all is his community.
I just basically love volunteering anywhere I can help.
David volunteers in many places throughout the Crow Reservation, including his summer movie nights in the park, offering free food and drinks to community members.
Well, David's dreaming big for the kids. And so don't think that your dream is too small. It's going to help someone out.
But he's currently working on his largest project of all, a 3,200 square foot facility to support elders and youth in the Lodgegrass community.
Because our youth are our future and our elders are our history.
The reason comes from personal experience. David struggled with addiction for 20 years. He's now 7 years sober, but wants to prevent children in the community from continuing the same habits he did, including addiction, violence, and homelessness.
The kids can have somewhere to go, one where they know that there's someone who cares about them. They're going to go all day, every day.
The facility will get kids involved, offering sports, workshops, free meals, and a donation center. That being said, the biggest roadblock is the $93,000 price tag attached to it.
You know, and it's just like showing the kids their potential. It's not just going to be a fun and games place.
Helping connect to future and elder populations, supporting them so they may support others.
We need to get a hold of the kids, man. They're our future.
A future plan David hopes he can pursue this 2025. In Lodgegrass, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
I wanted to show you some of the fog hanging around in Helena. In fact, you can see the Capitol building there. We could hardly see that about a half an hour ago. Things improving a little bit, but we will see areas of fog over a widespread area from Helena down towards Butte. We were checking out some of the conditions there. Butte, we also saw some of that fog hanging around. But everything in the blue shaded regions, which includes Billings and Yellowstone County, we're more concerned about wind and blowing snow that could cause some problems this evening heading into tomorrow morning. So strong wind gusts will continue to blow off and on over the course of the next few days. We will add some additional snowfall as early as tomorrow night, and the temperatures, especially in the morning, will be moving up and down.
The infighting has already begun inside Montana's 2025 legislative session. Republicans are demanding an apology over comments made at a legal conference after Democrats say they believed it was a waste of time. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on the conflict and if it's a sign of things to come.
On Tuesday morning, the president of the State Bar of Montana appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee after Republican senators asked her to appear to answer questions about what they called offensive conduct at an event the bar sponsored. The State Bar is the professional association of attorneys in Montana, and all attorneys licensed to practice law in the state must be members. Last month, 19 Republican senators, led by Senator John Fuller of Kalispell, sent a letter to the bar complaining about an April 2024 conference, where Bozeman attorney Jim Getz made several heated comments, criticizing a Montana Supreme Court ruling and several laws passed by the legislature and referring to Governor Greg Gianforte by a derogatory name. The senators said since bar membership is mandatory, the association should apologize for the comments, and they asked the bar's president, Tony Cheese, to appear at this meeting. She said the bar had apologized to the governor's office for what was said about Gianforte and that they are independent and nonpartisan.
We cannot control comments made by folks who attend all of our CLE programs or even folks who are panelists on or speakers at those events. We don't necessarily endorse those views.
Democrats on the committee said there wasn't a legitimate legislative reason for making the bar come in and respond to the comments.
To call in an association to answer for that members' comments, to call them in to ask for an apology and to demand punishment is having us as the Senate forcing speech upon organizations.
But Republicans said their questions about the bar would be relevant as they considered legislation later in the session.
Although it was put in that letter that we were going to ask them to appear here, which the State Bar has agreed to do, it was not by subpoena, it was not forced.
Fuller is sponsoring a bill this session that would make membership in the bar voluntary. It's just one of several dozen proposed bills that would make changes to Montana's legal system. MTN asked Getz for his comment on the senator's letters. He said, quote, "You would think they would have better things to do." In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Memorials and tributes are underway in Washington for former President Jimmy Carter. The casket carrying the 39th president, who passed away last month at the age of 100, arrived in the nation's capital today after mourners in his native Georgia paid their respects. Natalie Brand reports from the nation's capital.
Flanked by family and a special honor guard, the flag-draped casket carrying former President Jimmy Carter arrived at the U.S. Capitol Tuesday afternoon. The 39th president honored with a 21-gun salute before moving inside the Capitol Rotunda for a tribute by members of Congress. Vice President Kamala Harris delivered one of the eulogies.
James Earl Carter Jr. loved our country, and he left the world better than he found it.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson remarked on a life dedicated to service to country.
His care for humanity didn't stop at building homes. In the face of illness, President Jimmy Carter brought life-saving medicine. In the face of conflict, he brokered peace.
Georgia Senator John Ossoff reflected on Carter's legacy, not just as a state governor and U.S. president, but his achievements after he left the White House.
He continued to have a major impact, not just in the United States, but around the world as an advocate for free and fair elections. His work on public health and disease eradication. It's remarkable what he continued to achieve even after leaving office.
On the way to the Capitol, Carter's casket was transferred at the U.S. Navy Memorial, which Carter, a Navy veteran, authorized building in 1980. His family walked beside the horse-drawn caisson, a nod to Carter's decision to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue during his inaugural parade in 1977. A commander-in-chief from humble beginnings who says he aspired to make government more competent and compassionate. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
President-elect Donald Trump returns in 13 days, and today he offered a wide-ranging preview of his administration's goals. Trump alleges he's inheriting a difficult situation and promises to undo President Biden's actions. Trump also promoted his own economic and energy agendas, even saying he would not rule out using economic force over Canada or military coercion over Panama and Greenland after suggesting U.S. control.
Negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold the vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you. You're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military.
Comments on U.S. control have previously met pushback from the country's leaders, but offer a glimpse into his foreign policy agenda. Trump also took aim at Mexico, boasting that he would rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And amid the continued efforts by the current administration to reach a hostage release and ceasefire deal, Trump promised, quote, hell to pay if hostages held by Hamas are not released before he takes office. Some Americans with medical debt could soon get a big boost on their credit scores. Leading up to his final days in office, President Biden is finalizing a rule to end the addition of medical debt on credit reports. If Congress doesn't rescind the rule, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says about 15 million people will have an estimated $49 billion removed from their scores. That rule will take effect 60 days after it's published in the Federal Register.